For as long as human beings have possessed language, we've basically been shouting the exact same question at the sky. Like,
Yeah.
if there is someone in charge up there, why is everything down here so incredibly difficult?
Oh, absolutely. It is the ultimate human grievance, really. I
Hmm.
mean, we look at the injustice, the pain, the pure exhaustion of daily life, and we instinctively look for a cosmic manager to complain to.
Right, we want the manager.
Yeah, we want someone to blame for the architecture of our suffering.
Well, welcome to today's Deep Dives, where we are going to explore a text that you, our listeners, shared with us that tackles that fundamental grievance head on. The mission today is to explore a really fascinating, highly philosophical piece of writing by an author named Xu.
Written in December 2023, I believe.
Yes, exactly, December 2023. And it's titled, Why the Greatest Creator Doesn't Save You. And let me tell you, it offers a very specific, entirely uncompromising perspective on why pain exists in the world.
It really does not hold your hand. This philosophy takes all those grievances we shout at the sky and firmly redirects them right back at the individual.
It demands an uncomfortable level of self-reflection.
Uncomfortable is definitely the word for it.
But before we get into the thick of it, I need to make something crystal clear. Because this deep dive explores some deeply spiritually and philosophically charged viewpoints regarding life choices, divine intervention, and societal norms.
Very charged.
Yeah. So we are completely impartial here. We are not endorsing or taking sides on any of the religious, political, or lifestyle viewpoints presented. Our goal is simply to convey and unpack the ideas exactly as they are laid out in your original source material.
Exactly. We are just here to act as your guides through the architecture of the text itself. Examining how it constructs its argument and why it challenges our default assumptions about how the universe operates.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because the core premise of the text starts by addressing this massive looming illusion that the greatest creator is just, sitting back, ignoring humanity, and letting terrible things happen.
Right. The author opens by dismantling the primary argument people have been making for centuries. People constantly ask why the creator doesn't just step in. Like, why not imprison all the bad people?
Why allow crimes to happen at all?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Why not just swoop in and liberate everyone who is enduring hardship and injustice? And the common assumption is that this apparent inaction proves one of two things.
Which are?
Either the creator is not actually compassionate, or the creator simply doesn't exist at all.
But the text immediately fires back with a massive counterclaim. Xu writes that it is not that the creator doesn't save people.
No, not at all.
The premise is that the creator actually cares for everyone at all times and genuinely wants people to live a happy, joyful, free, and blissful life. But the brutal twist here is the assertion that humans are actively choosing to suffer.
Yeah, that's the kicker. And to illustrate the mechanics of this choice, the text uses this brilliant, really simple analogy. Think about the sun. The sun rises every single day.
It unwaveringly gives light and warmth to everyone on Earth.
Right. Completely fairly, without prejudice or preference. The framework asks, isn't that the very definition of compassion? Providing the essential elements for life to thrive?
Makes sense.
But if a person deliberately chooses to walk away from that light, to go hide in a damp, pitch-black cave, they cannot then shake their fist at the sky and blame the sun for being cold.
Man, it's like complaining your smartphone is broken because you can't get any emails, but you're the one who actively put it in airplane mode and threw it in a drawer.
That is a great way to put it.
You deliberately severed the connection, but you're out here leaving a one-star review for the manufacturer.
What's fascinating here is how effectively this flips the traditional victim narrative that humanity relies upon. We are so used to viewing ourselves as passive receivers of hardship.
We really are. We tell ourselves the universe acts upon us, and we suffer as a result.
Right. But this text demands absolute personal accountability for your state of being. It argues that if you have chosen darkness, then you need to just sit there and enjoy the darkness. The warmth was always available. You simply refused to stand in it.
Okay, but if walking into a dark cave is a metaphor, what is the modern equivalent? Because I imagine most people don't wake up on a Tuesday and consciously think, I am going to actively choose suffering today.
No, of course not.
The text gets incredibly specific about what choosing the darkness actually looks like in our everyday lives. And honestly, it points the finger straight at the things most of us consider to be the building blocks of a successful, normal life.
It really takes aim at tradition.
Yeah. According to the text, the Creator's messenger explicitly advised humanity with a very clear instruction: do not marry.
which is just a staggering departure from conventional societal wisdom. I mean, we are conditioned from birth to view marriage and family as the ultimate foundational blocks of a happy life.
It's the finish line of the social script.
Exactly. But the text argues that by ignoring this instruction and insisting on marriage, people drag a mountain of self-inflicted trouble upon themselves.
Let's look at the immediate mechanics of that choice as the author lays them out. So, you decide to get married. Suddenly, you have to bear the immense psychological and financial anxiety of preparing dowries, buying cars, and securing houses.
The stress starts piling up.
Then you decide you want children, which means you commit to decades of grueling toil for their growth, their education, their careers, and eventually their marriages. You strap yourself to this endless treadmill of obligation.
And you end up sacrificing your own peace for the mechanics of raising a family. And the author highlights the ultimate tragic irony of this whole biological and social cycle.
Which is what?
Well, after you have sacrificed your entire life, drained your energy, and depleted your resources for your children, you reach old age expecting a return on that investment.
You expect them to take care of you.
Right, but you find that your children are now trapped on their own treadmills. They are struggling so intensely with the immense burdens of their own families that they cannot possibly take care of you.
So you end up enduring the helplessness and loneliness of old age anyway, despite doing everything right, according to society.
Exactly. You get the punishment anyway.
But wait, I have to jump in here. You can't just tell humanity to ignore its biology. I mean, isn't the desire for a family and the drive to improve your standing just basic human nature?
That's the common defense, sure.
We are chemically and biologically wired to procreate, to seek companionship, and to build social structures for survival. The text frames building a family or wanting to succeed as a self-inflicted punishment, which is a massive departure from how society tells us to live.
True, but the text argues that confusing biological survival drives with spiritual fulfillment is exactly why we are miserable. The author views these societal milestones not as achievements to be celebrated, but as heavy, entirely optional burdens we willingly strap onto our own backs.
Optional being the key word there.
Right. We mistake our evolutionary programming for mandatory laws of spiritual existence. When we allow biology and societal conditioning to dictate our choices, we voluntarily walk into that dark cave.
Okay, so if the desire for family builds one kind of cage, the desire for status builds another. The text's next major warning from the messenger is, do not envy others, do not compare yourself with others, do not try to be superior to others.
We really need to examine the psychological mechanism of comparison to understand why the author focuses on this so heavily. Envy isn't just a fleeting emotion. It fundamentally alters your baseline of contentment.
Oh, for sure.
You could be perfectly happy in your apartment, but the second you see someone else buy a larger house, or become a white-collar executive, or start a lucrative company, your internal equilibrium just shatters.
You suddenly feel unbalanced and pained inside. And not because your life changed,
Right.
but because someone else's did.
Ex-
And how do we typically try to fix that pain? The text points out that instead of addressing the envy, we feed it. We study and work day and night. We drain our bank accounts buying success courses from internet gurus.
The whole grind set culture.
Yeah, we obsess over turning the tables, desperately wanting to rise above our current station, just so we can look down and say we live better than everyone else.
But the math on that pursuit simply doesn't work out. The pursuit of superiority mathematically guarantees psychological pain because there is always someone higher on the ladder.
There's always a bigger fish.
Always. The text observes that the result of all that frantic striving is that you become completely exhausted, often bankrupt, and your life degrades into a chaotic mess. You basically meticulously construct a cage of ambition, lock yourself inside, throw away the key.
And then have the audacity to ask the creator why you feel trapped.
Precise.
Well, here's where it gets really interesting, because the text aims its crosshairs directly at modern hustle culture and our collective obsession with wealth. The messenger's instruction was incredibly simple: do not live for money.
A simple instruction that almost everyone ignores.
Yet look at our daily lives. We are utterly consumed by this pursuit. Every single day, massive amounts of cognitive energy are spent scheming about how to get rich.
And the lengths to which people will go to acquire wealth are profoundly destructive. The source details a laundry list of toxic behaviors born entirely from this financial obsession.
Like what? What does the text call out specifically?
Oh, things like gambling, recklessly speculating in stocks, chasing high-return financial schemes, flipping real estate, and engaging in the giving and taking of bribes.
So all the shortcuts?
Right. People take on crushing debt to start businesses they lack the skills to sustain, all in a desperate attempt to get rich overnight and become the capital tycoon that others will envy.
And the author points out that individuals will willingly break the law and commit severe crimes just to gain what the text describes as the superficial glory of vanity.
The spiritual cost is massive.
It is. You might win the rat race, you might get the car and the title, but in the process, you entirely exhaust yourself spiritually. Your bank account is full, but your soul is tormented by the very things you did to fill it.
We have to examine the environment that fuels this endless hunger, too. The text captures the modern media landscape with chilling accuracy. I mean, the internet is absolutely saturated with teachings on how to become financially free.
It's everywhere.
It pushes these highly convincing, alluring narratives about eating high-level bitterness instead of low-level bitterness and planning your entire existence around a rich mindset.
You scroll online, and you're incessantly bombarded with curated videos of young billionaires, powerful company presidents, and luxury lifestyles. It is a massive illusion factory.
An illusion factory that profits off your envy.
Exactly. The influencers selling this rich mindset are often trapping their followers in a cycle of perpetual inadequacy. The text contrasts the shimmering internet fantasy with the incredibly harsh, unglamorous reality that most people actually live.
It paints this vivid, really grounded picture. You spend your day daydreaming about turning stones into gold or becoming a famous star.
But the reality is starkly different. Your own family and friends might secretly despise you for struggling. You graduate from college, saddled with debt, and cannot find a job.
Or you pour your sweat into a factory job only to be laid off. You are weighed down by car loans and crushing mortgages.
The whiplash between the expectation and the reality is where the suffering lives.
Yeah, you spend your day engaged in cutthroat competition with your peers just to secure a low-paying job. You run around all day expending massive amounts of energy with absolutely nothing to show for it.
And then you drag your exhausted body back to a cramped, rented room just to eat a cheap bowl of instant noodles. That is the grim reality the text presents against the hollow illusion of internet wealth.
It's a stark contrast.
So what does this all mean for you? You, the listener, navigating this exact world. The text states that the messenger warned humanity 20 years ago that this specific path of chasing wealth and status leads absolutely nowhere.
It asks directly, did you listen?
Right. Is it possible that the endless pursuit of financial freedom, the very thing we are told will save us, is actually the precise mechanism of the cage keeping us trapped?
That is the pivotal realization the text is trying to force upon the reader. The pursuit of the escape route is often the exact labor that builds the prison walls. You cannot buy your way out of spiritual exhaustion using the very currency and mindset that caused the exhaustion in the first place.
Okay, but if climbing the financial ladder only tightens the cage, and building a family only creates a treadmill of obligation, what is the alternative? How do we actually step off?
Well, the text does provide an escape route from this sea of suffering, but I will be honest, the terms of salvation laid out here are extraordinarily steep.
I figured there would be a catch.
They require a fundamental rewiring of the human operating system. The text states that if you truly want the Creator to save you, you must achieve a state of selflessness and desirelessness, eliminate ego and personal views.
Wow. Meaning you have to completely and utterly empty yourself of the desires that keep you attached to the mechanisms of suffering.
Exactly. And to explain how this works, the text uses a striking analogy. It compares this offer of salvation to a rescue mission during a catastrophic flood.
Okay, set the scene for us.
The floodwaters are rising. The Creator sends a ship to your door, but you refuse to board. The Creator sends a helicopter, but you refuse to get on. When the water finally crests and you drown, who exactly is to blame for your death?
Yourself. But what are the ship and the helicopter in this scenario?
The underlying implication is that the ship and the plane are not physical rescue vehicles. They are the teachings of selflessness and desirelessness. But people refuse to board these vehicles because the price of admission is too high.
Because boarding means leaving behind your ego, your hard-won ambitions, your grudges, your material wealth, and your worldly attachments.
Right. People look at the rescue ship, realize they can't bring their gold and their pride on board, and decide they would rather drown clutching their possessions than survive empty-handed.
That is heavy. And if the ultimate goal is shedding the ego, that doesn't just change how we view ourselves, it radically rewires how we treat other people. Because if ego is the root of suffering, asserting your ego over someone weaker isn't just cruel, it is spiritually self-destructive.
It creates a feedback loop of suffering.
Yeah. There's a fascinating explicit rule in the text about this. It says, do not bully those weaker than yourself. Do not bully foreigners.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the text is describing a universe governed by absolute mathematical natural consequences. It is outlining a closed-loop system of justice.
A closed loop, like what you put in is exactly what you get out.
Think about the physics of the soul here. If you use your strength to bully someone weaker, you are actively validating a universal system where strength dominates weakness. Therefore, by your own actions, you invite stronger entities to dominate you.
Wow. It is entirely logical. It strips karma of any mystical woo-woo and presents it as basic, unavoidable cause and effect.
Exactly. And it extends to geopolitics and xenophobia, too.
Right. The text explicitly says, if you bully foreigners and refuse to live in harmony with them, then being bullied by foreigners yourself is an entirely fair outcome. You created the rules of engagement, so you must suffer them.
The rules apply to everyone equally.
But I have to push back on the practicality of this entire escape plan. Achieving total ego death, having absolutely zero desire, never holding a personal view that is a monumental, perhaps impossible task for a human being living in a physical body.
It's an incredibly high bar.
If the ship out of the flood requires you to shed every single ounce of your human ego before boarding, is the Creator really making salvation accessible or just impossibly exclusive? It almost feels like another way to blame the victim for not being spiritually perfect.
And that tension is the beating heart of the text. It demands a standard of spiritual purity that is entirely antithetical to almost everything we consider to be the human experience.
Really is.
The author doesn't soften the blow or pretend this is an easy weekend retreat. The text merely states that it is the only functional way out of the matrix of suffering.
It's a harsh binary.
It presents a stark binary, yeah. Keep your ego and suffer the brutal, natural consequences of a world driven by competing egos, or drop the ego entirely and enter the light. There is no middle ground.
That uncompromising stance really crystallizes in the final warning the author quotes, which is, heaven has a path you do not take. Hell has no gate, yet you insist on breaking through.
That single line perfectly encapsulates the entire philosophy. The text insists, from the first word to the last, that suffering is never handed down from above as a divine punishment.
It's not the Creator zapping us with lightning bolts.
No, it is an experience actively sought out, meticulously engineered, and aggressively pursued by humanity. We are breaking down the gates of hell just to secure a plot of land inside.
Just to build a bigger house than our neighbor in hell.
Right. The grand avenue to happiness, freedom, and beauty is clearly illuminated and wide open, but we prefer the claustrophobic path full of anxiety and fear because it is paved with our own desires.
Well, we want to thank you for sharing such a thought-provoking, completely unflinching text with us. It forces us to examine the absolute foundation of why we strive for money, why we seek status, and why we blindly follow traditional societal milestones without ever asking if they actually serve our peace.
It really does. It forces a mirror up to our daily anxieties, our financial stress, and our interpersonal conflicts, and asks us to recognize our own fingerprints all over them.
Absolutely. So I want to leave you, our listener, with a final thought to mull over as you go about your day. The text operates on the strict, unyielding assumption that eliminating desire and ego is the only true way to escape suffering. But consider the flip side of that coin.
What do you mean?
If we successfully eliminated all of our desires, our deep attachments, and our wild ambitions just to avoid the pain of failure or loss, would we also be eliminating the very passions that drive breathtaking art, groundbreaking innovation, and profound, messy human love? Like, is a perfectly painless, desireless life in the light actually worth the cost of the human experience?
Now that is the ultimate question. What are we truly willing to trade for absolute peace?
Keep questioning the world around you. Keep examining the hidden motives behind the paths you're walking, and we will catch you on the next Deep Dive.